Hey, it's me. It's animated me. I'm your host, Andy Burrows, and it's time for another episode of Completed It. Movie reviews, pop culture, celebrity guests, and all that good stuff. Oh, and my good friend over there, Sasha Alari, as my co-host. Hey, Satch, hit the titles, brother. Hey everybody, welcome back to Completed It. I'm your host, Andy Burrows, and as you can see in the top left of my screen, he's one of my co-hosts. He stayed up late here in the UK for this one. Sash, how are you, brother?
Yeah, all good, not bad. Same old.
Same old, same old. Getting
Same
by,
old.
getting by. Neil is otherwise engaged today and will be joining us in a later episode. But we haven't had an interview for a while, Sash. It's been a few weeks since we've interviewed someone. And the good thing about doing this podcast is you kind of get to relive your childhood. We've done it many times. We've interviewed people that have been in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies and the animated series. Now, if you grew up in the 90s, there was one show that literally took the world by storm. And it seems to be, even now, it's on Netflix, it's everywhere. But joining us is a certain Zordon from the Power Rangers, also known as David Fielding. David, how are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
It's great to have you, my friend. As soon as I seen that you were available for an interview and like doing what we do, but we basically sit here every week, David, and relive our childhoods. Pretty much, we talk Marvel, we talk
Awesome.
DC, we talk everything from like the 90s, from the 80s, and stuff like that. David, obviously, you played the role of Zordon in the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers in the 90s, and it literally did take the world by storm. As you sit here in 2025, David, did you think that you would still be talking about this role that you took all them years ago?
No, no. Honestly, when I took the role and understood the show and what it was, at that time there was no such thing as like pop culture conventions. There were no tours or anything like that. So a lot of us just assumed that it was going to be like a lot of other cartoon shows. It would be on for a year, and then they would come up with something else, and it would move on. And um, the longevity of it never really sort of entered into my head until much, 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 much later. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how far are you into the process of playing this role? Because this is a TV show that literally, like I said at the start, took over the world. I
Yeah.
mean, how far were you into, like, was it season one? I mean, obviously, I know you weren't involved in all the seasons, and there's been many um Power Rangers adaptations made now, and it's like this version of the Power Rangers and that version of the Power Rangers. When in your mind did you think, holy hell, this show's actually like really popular?
I didn't get that feeling until after I had left the show and was back on the East Coast going to school, doing voice work for other things. But because I left the show fairly early on.
Hmm.
I they filmed me once and then continue to use my face throughout the life of the character. So from the first season all the way through In Space, so what, 5, 6 seasons or
Yeah.
whatever. Um, and I only did the voice for the first 31 episodes, and I got burned out living in LA and had moved back to the East Coast. And Christmas of '93, shortly after the show had gone on the air in August, I was Christmas shopping with friends, and we were at a mall, and I was like, "Why is everybody all, they were Russian KB toys?" And I'm like, what's the new toy this year?" And come to find out, it was all Power Ranger stuff, and that's the first time I ever saw the Power Dome toy that had my face on it. And I was like, "Oh, I'll never see a penny of that. That's fantastic."
Oh no, yeah. What was that like for you personally, though? Like you'd say, you just auditioned for a show that you thought was going to be another like cartoony kids show, Saturday morning TV. There are thousands of them now, and some of them I can't even remember some of the names. They're on TV and then they're gone 6 months later. What was that like for you, though? But like you said, you thought you were just going for a role. It might be on TV for a year. Hey, look, it's a role. I'm doing it.
Nice.
But then all of a sudden, turn into such a phenomenon. What was that like for you personally as an actor?
Well, I mean, it was amazing for me because I had just moved to LA. I'd only been there for 2 months and was living out there and was doing temp jobs in order to pay rent and that sort of thing, and was taking improv classes at a place called the LA Connection. And when I was at the LA Connection, I met a lot of people that I heard all about their horror stories about how they'd been living in LA for 10, 15, 20 years, never really got a big break, but were still chugging away trying to get on TV or whatever. And here I was, I just moved there, had been there for 2 months, and I got a call about being on this, auditioning for this show. And by the end of October of 1992, I'd been cast in this TV show, and I was like, wow, this is really kind of unusual, or it felt unusual to me at the time, um, because they do so many different pilots every
Hmm.
year, and they film like the first episode of them, and then you never see them, you never hear from them again. So it's very common for that kind of thing to happen, and but I had gone to school for a number of years, and I had a number of friends that were living in LA, so I had a network of friends. So I was prepared for something like this to come up. And when I was growing up, I watched stuff like Ultraman and Spectre Man and Battle for the Planets. And so I understood the whole idea of taking a show from another country and dubbing it and Americanizing it for an audience. And um, once they explained what the premise of the whole thing was, I was like, oh, yeah, I get this. I know exactly what this is. And so I was actually very excited to see what they were going to do with it because I'm a kaiju fan. I love big rubber monsters and big giant robots. So I thought it was going to be great.
Oh, you're going to get on well on this show. What you mentioned there? Obviously, you saying, "Oh, I'm not seeing a penny of any of this." When they make something like Power Rangers, how do they approach it as with you, the actors kind of thing? Because do you have to sign something that you says like in now in 2025, you get all these, you hear of all these stories now of actors making money off shows that they made in the 70s and 80s, and then I feel so bad for people like you, David, just sitting there thinking, I'm not making a bloody penny out of this, and like this is
Well,
such a phenomenon.
well, I mean, that's the reason why Power Rangers made $1 billion the first year. I mean, it was basically a half hour or 22-minute commercial for the toys. Because when you
Mm,
think about it, for most cartoon properties like that, like say He-Man or G.I. Joe or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the cartoon or the show would appear on TV, and then you'd have to wait 6 months before the toys showed up on
mm,
the toy shelves. When the day that Power Rangers premiered, the kids already had the toys in their hand.
yeah.
So they were already, as soon as the show ended, they were outside doing their jump kicks, playing Jason, being the Megazord. So I think that was what sort of like shot it off into the stratosphere because they could be those characters from day one. And of course, I mean, they made it as cheaply as possible. It was a non-union show, so they were not paying union wages, which means there are no residuals. There was
Right.
nobody gets a check every month for how many times this show airs. Nobody gets that. So I was paid very little to do the show, but again, I didn't really have the clout or the power to say, you know what, I think I deserve more or whatever. Um, and that's the nature of these non-disclosure or non-union type contracts where it's like you're locked in, they own all the footage, and they can do whatever they want to with it. So they paid me my fee, and I would get paid every time I would go into the ADR to do the lines for the character. But
Hmm.
outside of that, I didn't see anything.
Wow. Power Rangers is a show it's kept going. There's reboots, and we mention this term on this show all the time, David, reboots.
Yeah.
How do you feel now when we sit here in 2025 and you look around like the shows that are on the TVs on Netflix, Amazon Prime, etc., Disney Plus? A lot of the shows that are on now are reboots from the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. Is it the fact that that's just me and Sash talk about this all the time? Is it just the fact that it's easy and they can live off a name? Is it that they not that they can't come up with new ideas, but every show that you see now, all the real popular ones, I'm like chat to like I've got kids, and you chat to like youngsters nowadays, and they're like, oh, this show, and you're like, that was around in the 80s and the 90s. Why is it that we can't not that we can't develop new shows, but it just seems easier to reboot what we've done? A la the Power Rangers has been rebooted, God knows how many times.
Well, and that's because Super Sentai has been going on for the longest time. Super Sentai's been around since 1974,
Mm.
and they're always doing a new season every year. And so that's fresh material for Power Rangers to build upon, or at least it was. That was the sort of thing where they would take a season of Super Sentai, chop it up, rewrite the script, and use the footage to create a whole new season for an Americanized audience. But I think what you're talking about is something that has shifted in the entire film and TV industry
Mhm.
because when you go back and you look at the rosters of films from the 60s to the 70s, and even it's really kind of started to lose that kind of thing in the 80s because, and I'm not really sure if this is something you can lay at the feet of Star Wars. Um, but there is this tendency where you have to build a franchise. You have to have a recognizable brand in order for something to get made. And so that's why there's been a lot of diving into the pool of comic books and graphic novels for, those things fly off the shelves because we're all geeks and nerds and we love to read about that kind of stuff. And so they mined all of that, right? And just put as much of that up on the screen as possible. And then you'll see like, so many different iterations of Predator 1, Predator 2, Predator 3, and just this franchise um, mill because they understand that the audience recognizes it, it's familiar. Of course, I'm going to go spend my money on it.
Yeah, yeah.
And whereas when you look at stuff from from the 60s and 70s, they were just throwing everything and throwing everything at the wall and just seeing what stuck. And you were able to take more chances and do something weird or do something special. Um, but nowadays, trying to get something greenlit, unless it has a recognizable brand, it's going to be a real uphill battle the whole time.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. You mentioned obviously you done the first season, and then they kept your face but used someone else's voice.
Yeah.
How did that go down?
Well, I was when I got the news that the show had been picked up, I was really excited
Mhm.
because it was something I was hoping to get to experience where I would get to be on set with the guys every day and, see what was happening and how a TV show got made and what the process was and being on set every day. But I didn't get that experience. What I was told was, "Oh, we're not going to film you anymore. We're just going to bring you in to do voices." So whenever the Rangers were in the command center, I wasn't there. They were just listening to some, poor PA off to the side, spouting Zordon's lines and trying to act to that.
Oh, wow.
I would just go in after the episode had been filmed and they would put my footage up on the monitor and, they do the countdown and I would do the line. And so I was only being brought in like every 4 or 6 weeks to do 4 or 5 episodes worth of lines, and then I would go home and never hear from them for like a month, month and a half, and then they'd bring me back in. So very much like Zordon, I felt like I was very separated from everybody and didn't really feel like I was a part of the show. And I was working a number of jobs, and I was afraid that I was going to be living under a bridge from week to week. And so and I wasn't auditioning, I wasn't doing anything else. And I felt kind of, and I went out to LA really late. I went out when I was 29. Most people, when they go to LA, they go earlier in their 20s, and uh, their ability to put up with a bunch of BS is a lot. Sure, I'll
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah, I'll do
At
anything you
20,
want.
yeah, and at 29, I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm sorry, no. And and I realized right away that there were a certain number of things that people were going to ask of me that I wasn't very comfortable with doing. and I didn't feel like stepping on anybody to get to a certain level, and I was certainly wasn't going to change who I was in order to achieve a certain level of success. So, um, I had gone to LA, I had lived out there, I had gotten on a TV show, and I was doing some things. So I checked the box that I went out to LA for.
Mm.
And so I decided to say, you know what, I'm not really sure I want to do this. And Tony Oliver, who was the head writer on the show at the time, was like, "Just give it another 6 months. Just wait it out. It's going to be great." And I'm like, "Oh, dude, I'm emotionally and mentally burned out. I don't think I can stay here." And they dragged me up to Haim Saban's office to talk, and Haim was just Haim. Haim was a businessman, and he was just concerned about um, whether or not the episodes were getting filmed week to week, and like I said, I was a nobody. He didn't know who I was, and he was like, why do you not want to do the voice?" And I'm like, I just don't like being in LA. So you want to leave? Yeah, okay, we get somebody else, and that's the way it was. And they just, um, I was expendable. That was the feeling, and again, it was nothing personal. I didn't hate the show. I didn't hate the commitment or anything like that. I was just very tired, and it became very clear, especially from that meeting, that I was extremely replaceable. So yeah, go ahead, do what you need to do. And I went back to the East Coast and started doing voices for video games and got on with my life. And I forgot about the show for the longest time because it wasn't anything that I was going to watch. I mean, I was reminded of it every now and then because every Halloween somebody was dressed as the Red Ranger, or Pink Ranger, or whatever. Um, but I honestly forgot about it for the longest time until Facebook came along. And about 2010, I started to get a bunch of messages from people saying, "Hey, weren't you that guy that played on that show, that the Power Rangers?" Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to that show? And then looked it up. I'm like, "Oh, wow, it's still going on. That's crazy." So yeah.
Last one for me before I hand over to my co-host. With all the kids' TV shows now and the world of the internet and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, what advice would you give anyone trying to get into the industry of quote unquote kids' TV? Because it's so different now. I mean, you could you could be popular on YouTube and 2 months later you could find yourself on a TV show because they saw you putting skits on YouTube or TikTok. It's not. God, we're lucky. We chat to so many actors, and it seemed they all say the same to us. It's like, well, gone are the days of auditioning. You've just got to be like really popular on YouTube or TikTok. You haven't got to like remember all these lines. You've just got to do something stupid on. How would you advise these people that are getting involved in the industry now?
Well, I mean, again, it goes back to what we talked about earlier. I mean, recognizing somebody on YouTube, they've built their own brand, right?
Mm,
So it's recognizable. They come with a guaranteed audience. And so it's easier to sort of say, sit down and watch this, and people will do it. Um, my advice to somebody who wants to do that sort of thing is just, go for broke, man. Do whatever you need to do. We have these mini computers in our hands. If you have an iPhone, you can make your own movie on your iPhone. You can film it and edit it and do all that stuff right there on your phone. So you have the power, and you have a little bit more power than what we had back in the day. Because if somebody approaches you and say, "Hey, we would like to, build this out," you're like going, "Okay, well, I'm going to set my own terms." And
mm,
that's something that we didn't have. We couldn't go in there and say, "I'm going to set my own terms." So, you know, go for broke, but also educate yourself on, what you're willing to put up with and what you're willing not to do in order to protect what it is that your vision is. You know, fight for your stuff. That's my advice. Do what you want to do, but protect it as well. So.
mm. Great advice, my friend. Great advice. Sash, over to you, my brother.
Yes. Yeah, so I see that you did a short film with Nick Gullard from Star Wars fame.
Oh, we were going to. Yeah,
Oh, you were
yeah.
going to? Oh, okay. No, I just saw on your I saw the trailer and I saw, yeah, the IMDb I saw Nick Gullard, and I first thing I thought was Fat Menace, fight coordinator, did one of the greatest lightsaber battles in cinematic
One of
history.
the greatest lightsaber
Yeah,
battles.
yeah.
Yeah,
We when we were
that's
gonna do the order, we had approached Nick to direct,
oh
and
wow.
we had gone to New Orleans and we met him and had dinner with him, and he was fantastic, and he was super excited about doing it, but the cards didn't work out. I mean, the stars didn't align, and it never came to fruition. But
I'm also
everybody was in
seeing.
LA. We were like 5 days away from getting into the cameras and starting it, and it just all fell apart. So.
Wow, I'm seeing George Lazenby was up for being in there as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Mr.
we had
Bond.
we had some pretty big names in there. So it was, we had a lot of ambition, but again, um, not all of our T's were crossed and not all of our I's were dotted, and it just kind of like crumpled in the last few days. So
Oh wow.
it
But
sucked.
but you still managed to do the sizzle reel for the trailer, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and every time I watch it, I still get excited about it. It's still a lot of fun. So
Yeah, yeah, I did watch the trailer and I was like, wow, okay. So I wasn't sure. So this thing on that was for like a full feature or
yeah, yeah, we had the full script. It was going to be close to 2 hours long. We had so many wonderful cast members from other seasons of Power Rangers who were going to be in it, and it was one team versus another, and it was going to be this all-out battle type thing. And we, Karen and I worked a lot on the script, and we were all very excited, and we were all very heartbroken when it didn't happen.
yeah. Oh wow. Um, but yeah, that's the thing with short films and filmmaking. You just got to keep plugging at it. Like you said earlier, now you can film stuff on the iPhone and like
Yeah,
back in the 80s, that was that was unheard of,
right.
You
I
the
mean,
best you
and
the best you could do back then was probably do like a Super 8 or or even your parents' mini DV and film what you could, put it on VHS and give it to
yeah.
someone that would get somewhere. And, YouTube has really become such a force now and all the social media and stuff. It's just a completely different landscape.
Mm.
Yeah, we're,
Yeah.
we're we're living in the age of the influencer, and these, it's kind of hurt us in a way because
Hmm.
everybody has this tendency to scroll, to scroll, to scroll. So you have about 3 seconds to capture somebody's attention, and if you don't get them in that, they may not come back. So, it used to be that you would have, 5 or 6 minutes to sell something to somebody.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It's even happening in the way they make movies now. I was looking at the new Superman, and I know Andy loves it. I was unimpressed myself personally because I just felt that
He has
it
to
felt
tell me
like,
this every
yeah,
episode.
I'm sorry, man.
Every
But
episode, he
but this
has
is
to
my
get this in.
problem with modern day films. It just feels like the TikTok they're aiming it towards the TikTok generation. So something needs to happen every,
Yeah,
you know
yeah, I
what I
think
mean?
you can
Yeah,
blame it on MTV because they really started with the quick cut,
yeah,
very flashy videos, where the image would change every 3 or 4 seconds, and you're just blinking and blinking and going, oh,
yeah.
this is so. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
that
goes
music
back.
video style. I do miss MTV. I mean, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, same to say that is, yeah, yeah. David, what role do you think that the internet has played in the business for better or for worse? We've been very fortunate. We've spoke to people that are involved in TV now that have done the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, and like they say the same to what you just said to us a minute ago. It's like you guys didn't have any of. We could be doing this. Look at us now. We're sitting here. You're in the
Yeah.
States. We're in the UK. So the internet and social media has played a good part in the business, but I always say this all the time. It's played such a. We mentioned on our show the other day that now a movie's in the cinema and then 2 weeks later you can watch it on TV. You could never do that back in it, especially over here in the UK. If a movie was on
Right.
in the States, we weren't
Yeah.
getting that sucker till like 6 months down the line. How do you feel that the internet is shaping the business for better or for worse?
I think it's a blessing and a curse. I mean, I wish we had had social media back in 1993 because, if I'd been able to get on the internet and say, hi, I played Zordon, that might have led to me sticking around a lot longer. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Um, so, it would have been nice to have that sort of boost and spotlight of attention or whatever. But The internet has changed the landscape of almost every aspect of entertainment industry. It's changed the publishing field as far as writing. It's changed, like we've been talking about. It's changed any sort of filmed kind of entertainment, whether it be commercial, film, TV, whatever. Um, and it's expanded the playing field in so many different ways, and it's also sent a lot of things to an early graveyard because we don't do things that way anymore.
Mm.
So, and everybody is always trying to capture your attention in one form or another, and that I think is the most difficult thing to sort of reconcile because back in the day, I'm not exactly sure of the real numbers, but let's say in 1980 they released, I don't know, 100 movies in 1980.
Hmm.
How many were actually, made? Did they make 300 movies that year? I have no idea. Nowadays, when you look at the stuff on YouTube, when you look on the stuff on other video platforms, there's a glut of entertainment coming out there. And anytime you go to a streaming platform and you want to choose something to watch, you're scrolling through image after image after image and go, oh, how many different mummy films are there? How many different, werewolf
Yeah,
movies are? And it's like you almost numb yourself by like, there's just too much. I can't make a choice. There's just so much to watch.
that's the
So
that's the
that's
other
been
thing,
great
though.
on one hand because it's allowed people to be extremely creative. On the opposite side, you're also having to wade through an awful lot of junk in order to get to something that's really special. You know what I
Mm.
mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So,
the thing, though. I mean, like you get lost in that ether, and like, say if you did make an independent film, you run if you don't get a theatrical release, you don't get that buzz really. And once you go straight to streaming, it's like you've made this indie, and now you're in the ether.
mm. It's like what
Yeah,
we
and
were what we talking about last week when we were talking about the whole Warner Brothers thing, and hopefully it's not going to go to Netflix. But if Amazon ever got it, and you'd be like, we love going to the cinema, but
yeah.
now you're thinking, well, if Warner Brothers is going to Amazon or wherever it could end up, you're like, well, a movie's going to be on, it's going to be on the cinema for like a week, and then it's going to be on everyone's TV screen.
Well, it's like Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein came out, like what, last week or whatever. It's
Mm.
going to be on Netflix 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, Black Phone Two's
So,
on next week, streaming. It
yeah,
come out what 3 weeks ago?
yeah.
You can
Yeah.
stream it in like 3 weeks. David, I know your time's very precious, my friend. What does life look like now, my friend? You mentioned obviously things like this, and there's conventions, and all of a sudden Zordon has come back to life, so to speak. But what
Yeah,
is
well,
like? What? How does life look for you now, mate?
I always tell people the best time to be Zordon is right now
Yeah.
because I get to go to so many amazing places. I've traveled, to different areas of the world because of something I did one day 33 years ago, and it pays in dividends. What I didn't get paid way back then is overshadowed by the love and the ability to just meet people from all over, to talk to guys like you and just share all of the memories and stories and stuff. And the best time is right now. So I'm great. I'm having a good time. So
I'm glad it's all working out for you, my friend. I really am glad it's all. We say this all the time on here. If I could go back and tell 13-year-old Andy Burrows that he'd be sitting here chatting to Zordon now in 2025, he'd be like, "What the hell has happened?" But David, thank you so much for giving us half an hour of your time. I really do appreciate it. Hope to see you at this conventions over here in the UK, David. I'm just saying.
I would love to. I mean, I've been over to Ireland. I've been to Belgium. I would love to get to the UK, to Scotland, to Wales, wherever they want to send me. So yeah,
Yeah,
just
we'd love
tap the
to see
guys
you.
on the shoulders and say, "Hey, bring Zordon over." I'd love.
We'll make some calls, my friend. We'll make some calls. But thank you so much for joining us, my friend. I really do wish you all the success for the future. I'm glad to see you getting that buck now all these years later, my man. You definitely deserve it. But Sash, another episode in the books, my man. Thank you so much. Anyone wants to check out the show? Just go onto YouTube, type in "Completed It Podcast" is where you can find us. Also on X at Completed It Pod. We'll be back next week with more Marvelous Mondays, more interviews, and more all round movie chat. Until next time, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Stay safe.
Feeling overwhelmed by the challenges of daily life? Struggling with anxiety, stress, depression, phobias, fears, or just trying to get yourself back again? Discover the transformative power of focused solution hypnotherapy and counseling. Through guided hypnotherapy, relaxation trance allows your subconscious mind to access your inner resources and strengths you didn't know you had. Book your free consultation today and let's start your journey together. For more information, please email Sharon at scm-therapy.me